All right, check this thing out. This is a 2001 Honda 400EX. A couple of subscribers dropped this quad off. They said they paid $1,500 for it, and they just got it, and they said it does not start. So they said they bought it without the ignition, so they couldn't test it out before they bought it for, you know, to see if it started or not. And they said that it has been sitting for quite a while, I think over the past year at least. And they said it sounds really bad and does not start at all. And they think it's low compression. So let's just kind of go over the whole machine here. I'll show you guys what it sounds like here, but here we go. So this is kind of what it sounds like. You can hear like a ticking, like the cam chain's loose. Something's like really sloppy in there. I don't know if it's the crank or what. It almost sounds like a crank bearing or something, which would be bad. Because if they spent $1,500 on this, a whole new rebuild would be pretty expensive, and it might not be worth it. But we'll see. It could just be a loose cam chain and the intake valves are tight. Who knows? So both brakes don't work. Front brake doesn't work. Rear brake, nothing there. And look at this. Previous owner of this thing just ran it with no pads. So there's 0 pads in there. This is just metal on metal. I'll show you. It's like, I don't get how people can let their quad get this bad. And yeah, you can hear it. It's just metal on metal there. It's pretty bad. So if we get this thing running, we'll try to fix up the brakes for him as well. But we'll take a look underneath here. Since it's been sitting, we'll check and see if there's a mousey mouse in there. Usually there is. That lever is missing a spring in there to hold it back. Looks like a dog chewed on this one, right here, the clutch. The lights do work. High and low, yep. That's nice at least. What kind of wheels we have? I think those are just stock. We've got the crappy yellow chain on there. That's like completely rusted. That's pretty bad. That is very bad. Sprocket looks pretty rusty. Front and rear. Looks like half of it was sitting outside, half not outside, but you can see all the rust on the axle here. Got the stock exhaust, which is kind of nice. We don't have to rejet it then. Unless there's like a big bore in it, but I doubt that. It looks all original, all stock. I mean, it's pretty clean. The engine's pretty clean. The oil will probably tell us what's going on in the bottom end here. If there's metal shavings, that's a bad sign, and it could be the rod bearing gone. I've never had a 400EX that sounds as bad, so... Oh, look how black that oil is. That's a bad sign. That's a very bad sign. Look at that. Pure black. That has never been changed, I bet. So right off the bat, off to a bad start with the oil. Alright, let's get the seat off of here and take a look at the air filter. Are we going to find a mouse? Hopefully it's not as bad as the Tri-Moto that we worked on the other day. Let's see. Pretty clean. Not bad. I don't really like these filters too much. They let stuff through like dust. I like the foam better, but it is K&N. So that looks pretty good. Put the lid back on. Alright, so let's try to squirt some starting fluid down the carburetor and see what it does. We'll try to see if we can at least get it to pop over here. Take the air box out of here. Got some starting fluid. Gonna hold the throttle open to get some down there. Alright, let's see if it pops over here. Sounds like it's blowing out of the carburetor. It should be sucking in. That could be a couple different things. A bent valve on the intake, or intake valves are too tight, allowing compression to come through there at the wrong time. So it'd be pushing out. So when the piston comes up, the valves would still be open a little bit and it'd be pushing that compression out and not sucking in, because they're supposed to be closed all the way, preventing compression to come out. So that could be one of the problems. It didn't even want to fire or anything, so that's not a good sign. That usually means low compression. So, all right, next let's check for gas flow out of the gas tank here. All right, we got the side plastic off that goes right here. I'll turn the gas to off here and then just see if we're getting any gas out of here. Sounds like we might be. See it leaking. I'd say that's pretty good gas flow. Let's see on. And it's got to be on reserve to work. But it is in fact working. Doesn't look like any water in the gas. Looks pretty clear. That checks out. Next is spark. Let's get the gas tank off, heat guard off, these front plastics off, and we can check for spark next. Now this front plastic should just come right off. And I like to just set it down like that, so it's out of the way. And then we can get to the gas tank. And that just comes right off. Alright. Now we've got the heat shield in the way. This thing's held on by a couple 10 mils, right there, right there. And we've got this guy for the breather. So let's get that off, and then we've got access to the top of the engine here. All right, now we're in business. Here is the spark plug boot. There's the spark plug down in there. Let's see if we've got spark. So if you're working on a 400EX, or I believe a 300EX, or a 250X, you have to have a small 18 millimeter thin walled socket to fit in here. Otherwise you're not getting that spark plug out. A lot of people, what they do is shave them down. This one actually came in the toolkit. I just saved it from a different quad, and I always use that one. It usually fits in there. Sometimes it doesn't, depending on the valve cover you have on there. But yeah, kind of a pain. Yeah, that one worked. That one came up. And you just twist that guy off and Should come right out now. See what the spark plug looks like here. Actually, it doesn't look that bad. A little carbon on there, but nothing like too crazy. Check for spark. Turn this thing on. Yeah, there's spark. Yeah, we've got good spark. So that's not the problem. All right, we've got spark, it's getting gas. It's gotta be compression. Let's get the compression tester in there and give it a whirl. All right, I get a lot of questions on the compression tester I use. I know there's a lot of crap ones on like Amazon and stuff. I bought this one on Amazon. I'll have to find the link and leave it in the description, but there's no logo on it. This is made in Taiwan, but this one was, I think, 75 bucks for the whole kit, and it's never let me down. It always works really, really well. And it comes with a bunch of spare parts and fittings and stuff, so it's definitely worth it. I use it like pretty much every single quad I pick up, so it's a good investment to make if you're working on ATVs all the time. So get this guy in there. All right, that's pretty good. All right, let's see how low we are with compression here. Reading. All right, here we go. Throttle open. Here we go, crank her over. Looks like 0. So it's 0 compression. Zip. Not even moving at all. Is this thing on there? That's on there. 0 compression. So that's interesting. Let's check the valves, I guess, first. Typically what happens with these 400EXs is the intake valves get really tight and then the valves stay open. So even when the piston's coming up, the valves are still open and it's letting compression through. So usually they're open about 1 millimeter and compression can leak through, causing low compression. And right now, that's telling me that either a valve is bent or the intake valves are tight. It would have some compression if the piston and the cylinder were scratched up. It would probably have about 50. All right, let's get these valve caps off. Sometimes they can be a little bit tricky. That one came. Sometimes it just takes a good twist. Let's get that tube off of there. There we go. There we go. Just kind of feel them in here. Oh, those are loose. These are tight. Man, that's a ton of play in there. That could be the noise we're hearing. We might get lucky here. Maybe the exhaust are tight. Because there's no way these are tight with that much slack in them. Could be a bent valve. We will see. We gotta get this thing to top dead center in order to check the valves. All right, 6 millimeter hex for this one. Twist that guy off. And then I believe this one's a 10 millimeter hex. Yep. Twist that guy off. All right, now we're gonna try to find the T up in this window and rotate this counterclockwise. All right, so you guys don't have to go searching for the socket, 17 millimeter. All right, now we're looking in the little window for a T. There's an F. There's a T right there. And the valves are, so the exhaust valves are tight right now at the T. And then the intake valves are super loose. So, well, let's loosen these guys up. These are really, really tight. I'm at the T right now. And everything is like really tight. These aren't, these are really loose. But these are super tight, no matter where you spin it. So that could be our issue. Obviously we have some slack in the timing chain as well, I believe. But this might be our main issue. Let's get the slack on there. Alright, so we found the T. You guys can see that kinda. Zoom in a little bit. That's what it looks like on there. Hopefully you guys can see that. Little T with a line next to it. You want to line up the line with the little notch right there. So we're lined up perfectly. And right now I had to loosen up the exhaust valves, but now we're loose on all the valves, and that's what we want. Now we can set these valves to the correct clearance, and we should be good to go. Also, just note that if you look down the spark plug hole here, you will see the piston at the top. So we're good to go. All right, intake on the 400EX is set to 0.004 inches, and the exhaust is set to 0.005. Now you can see there's just a little play in there. So those are all set perfectly. I'm debating on whether checking for compression or not, because I don't know if the timing's off. I don't want to bend a valve if I don't have to, because it kind of sounds like the cam chain's loose. So maybe I'll take out the valve cover before checking for compression again. Alright, change of plans. Before we do anything else, I want to perform a leak down test. So we've got our fitting we use for the compression tester. I just took out the little, what's it called, valve in there, and so I can let air directly through. We're going to connect this into the cylinder and then feed 20 psi into it. And I'm assuming, and I'm guessing, we're going to hear a noise coming from the exhaust, because I feel like an exhaust valve is bent. So let's just see. We're hooking up 20 pounds of psi. Yep, and you can hear it coming from the exhaust here. So we've got a bent exhaust valve. Is it coming from anywhere else here? No. A little bit from the intake. So maybe a bent intake as well. Alright, let's see if we can get the valve cover off without stripping any of these bolts or breaking them. So let's see. Oh boy. They're tight on there. So far, so good. Oh, that one's tight. We want to go the other way with it. Try to loosen her up. This one might break. I think we got her. That one's loose. Alright, I think we've got one more. I think we got them all. think any of them broke. I think this might be the only 400EX that doesn't have broken valve cover bolts here. Cool. You hear it buzzing. Oh, cam chain's really loose. Look at that. Holy. Definitely skip timing. Look how... Oh man. Look how loose that is. That's terrible. So yeah, that's not good. Rockers seem to be good. That looks really good. Alright, so to get the head off, we have to take off the pipe, cam chain tensioner, and the head should pop off, and that will kind of tell us what's going on. But my theory is that the cam chain got loose, skip timing, bent the valve. Alright, so check this out. I just took off the cam chain tensioner, and this is what it looked like. It wasn't even out. So this bar right here is supposed to be like out to here. So I don't know if somebody replaced it at one point and never extended it back out or what. So we're gonna take that little screw out of there, see if that extends here. Alright, let's see what's going on with this thing. This little cap comes off. And it should extend. It should automatically extend if you twist it a little bit. Yeah, see, it's not working. So the spring mechanism in there is broken or something. It should be extending on its own. It's locked up. There we go. But it should just be spring loaded. There's like no tension whatsoever on it. So that's just junk. I wonder if we can take it apart and look what happened here. The little ring comes off of here. Let's see. Here's the coil. I think that came off of the thing. So that's supposed to go in there like that, I believe, and wrap around. See, that's just broken. So I think this is what went bad. We'll try to reconnect it and everything, but I think that was the problem. There was zero spring tension. Alright, let's get the head off and see what those valves look like. It's around there pretty good. Get the breaker bar out. Whew. Man, those are tight. Alright, got those two off. Alright, kind of hard to see from this angle, but there's a pin right here on this side. That looks like that. And then there's another one. And there's another one on the other side. And then now the cam can come off. Those kind of lock it in place. Tie that around there. Bearings. Bearings feel fine. Looks like the stock cam. There's two big nuts right here. Alright, here we go, moment of truth. Let's see what's going on with this thing. Alright, let's go take this over to the bench. Piston looks pretty decent. Doesn't really look like the piston was hitting too much, maybe a little bit right there. It doesn't look horrible. Alright, here's the head. The top of it looks pretty decent. There's a little decompression mechanism right there, so there's a little spring underneath there, still springy, so that looks good. Let's see if the valves push down just for fun. Yeah, that one does. That one does. That one does. That one does. Alright, let's see. What do we got? Oh, intake valves are both bent. Check that out. Intake valve right there is bent. Intake valve right here is bent. So exhaust valves aren't bent, but we're just going to replace those two. So all new valves are going in here. I don't trust those. They might be bent as well. We'll have to take them out and see. But yeah, intake valves, super bent. Look at that big gap in there. That's why it was zero compression. It's weird that on the leak down test, more air was coming out of the exhaust valves than the intake valves. I mean, a little bit was coming out of the intake, but most of it was coming from the exhaust. So that's kind of what tells me one of these is bent as well. Alright, well, no other damage, so that's good. Alright, so far we know that the valves are bent. Let's see if the crank and the piston are fine here. From what I can tell, piston doesn't look terrible. Ring is stuck though right there a little bit. Second ring, you can see is stuck over here on this side. I don't feel any play in the rod. We'll get the piston off and confirm, but it looks like we might get lucky and the rod bearing might still be fine. Alright, now we got the piston off. Better look at the rod here. Zero up and down. A little bit side to side, so that thing's perfect. So lucked out there. Take a look at the cylinder. That looks good. No deep scratches or anything on there. So lucked out with that as well. Getting lucky on this one. So that's reusable. Just have to hone that out. And then check this out. Piston looks really good too. So rings came free, they were just lightly stuck, so that's probably just from sitting. What kind of piston is this? I bet you it's stock. So, piston's reusable, might order up new rings. Definitely recommend it. We'll see what the owner wants to do. I'm sure he'll want to put new rings in it if I'm already in there. And then we'll take a look at the valves next and see how bent those were. Got the valve compressor here. We got one valve out already. One of the intake valves. That was bent. Let's check out this one. Yeah, that one's bent. There it is. once we get all of them out, we'll do the drill test and see if they're all bent. Alright, first intake valve. Let's see if it's bent here. Oh yeah. Look at that wobble. So that intake valve is bent. Next intake valve. So you can see it better in front of this. Look at that wobble. That one's bent. First exhaust valve. Let's see if this one's bent. Might not be. It's hard to tell on this one. There's like a tiny bit of wobble, if you can look at it. There's a little wobble. So I'm gonna call that one bent a little bit. It's not horrible, but better safe than sorry. And then the other one, definitely not as bad as the intake, but that one's pretty straight. But we'll probably just replace it anyway. Because usually they come in sets of 2. So 3 out of the 4 valves were bent. And then looking at the seats, all the seats look good. Fly carbon built up around the exhaust ones though. That's pretty typical, but those aren't damaged or anything. Alright, next I want to drain the oil and see if there's any metal shavings in it. If there is, it's either clutch or transmission that's going. So let's drain this oil. I think the drain plug is on the side over here. Yeah, right here on this one. And then underneath, right there. That is some black oil coming out of there. Wow. Alright, here's what the filter looked like. So far it doesn't look like any big metal shavings or anything. I just kind of wiped this out. There's a couple metallic flakes, but nothing big. Yeah, that's like nothing. You can see like 1 or 2. And they're like dust, so that's good. So bottom end should be fine. Look at that, nothing. Awesome. They are getting pretty lucky. Alright, so this is what the oil looks like, super black, but no metal shavings or anything in there. So we got lucky there as well. I'm assuming clutch and transmission is probably good. Alright, so it looks like this thing just had a tensioner fail, which caused the timing chain to become loose, which caused the timing to become off and skip timing, and that caused the valves to bend, and that was the culprit. So at least we found the problem and nothing else was damaged besides the valve. So we'll ask these guys what they want to do, and then I'll update you guys and we'll see. I think they said if the crank was bad they were gonna just sell it as parts, but just having the valves bad, I think they're gonna rebuild this thing. But yeah, anyway, stay tuned for the next video. Hopefully we hear the first start on this thing. Should be pretty fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Till next time, we are out.